The place card read Staff Table 3, in the same elegant calligraphy as all the others. I stared at it for a long moment, then looked up at my brother Nathan, who was grinning like he'd just told the world's funniest joke. Caterers need company, right, Lily? He nudged his fiancée Christine, who giggled into her champagne. Besides, you know how weddings are. Limited seating. We had to make tough choices. I'm your sister, I said quietly. And we love you, Christine cooed, her tone dripping with performative sweetness. But you understand, don't you? Nathan's colleagues from Hartman Industries are all at the family tables. These are important business connections. The staff table is perfectly nice. You'll have the wedding planner and the photographer. Creative types like you. Creative types. That's what they'd been calling me for 3 years. Ever since I'd left my marketing job at 25 to pursue what they considered an embarrassing risk. My parents had stopped asking about my work after the first year. Nathan had introduced me to his friends as my sister who's still figuring things out. It's just for dinner, Nathan added. You can mingle during dancing. Come on, Lily, don't make this weird. It's my wedding day. I picked up the place card and walked toward the back of the ballroom. Staff Table 3 was positioned near the kitchen doors, far from the sweetheart table where Nathan and Christine would reign. Far from my parents, who were seated at Table 2 with Christine's family. Far from any acknowledgement that I belonged to this family at all. The wedding planner, a harried woman named Stella, looked up in surprise as I sat down. Oh, are you actually sitting here? Apparently, I said. That's strange. Usually family. She stopped herself, clearly not wanting to make things awkward. Well, welcome to the chaos table. We'll at least have interesting conversation. The photographer, a guy named Marcus with impressive tattoo sleeves, shook his head. Man, that's cold. What did you do to piss off the groom? Exist mostly, I said, reaching for the water glass. The ceremony had been beautiful. Christine looked stunning, Nathan looked proud, and I'd sat in the 7th row watching my brother marry into the kind of family that measured worth in stock portfolios and country club memberships. The Hartman family, old money, new ambitions, and a pharmaceutical empire that spanned 3 continents. Christine's father, Richard Hartman III, had made a speech about family legacy during the rehearsal dinner. About building something meaningful. About surrounding yourself with excellence. He'd looked directly at Nathan when he said it, and Nathan had beamed like he'd been knighted. No one had looked at me. Dinner service began. At the head table, I could see Nathan and Christine surrounded by their wedding party. His groomsmen from Hartman Industries, her bridesmaids from Yale. Table 1 held the Hartmans. Richard III, his wife Patricia, Christine's brother Richard IV, who everyone called Chip, and Christine's grandmother, the formidable Eleanor Hartman. Table 2 was my parents, Christine's aunt and uncle, and 2 of Nathan's college friends who'd gone into finance. Tables 3 through 8 were Nathan's colleagues, Christine's sorority sisters, and various important people whose presence proved that Nathan had arrived. And here I was at Staff Table 3, cutting into chicken breast while Stella fielded panicked texts from the florist about a centerpiece emergency. So what do you actually do? Marcus asked, clearly trying to salvage the conversation. The creative type comment makes me think artist? Designer. Business development, I said simply. Tech sector. Oh yeah. Which company? Before I could answer, the lights dimmed slightly. The best man was standing, champagne glass raised, ready to begin the toasts. He was painfully boring. Corporate humor, inside jokes about quarterly reports, a story about Nathan's dedication that made my brother sound like a robot. Polite laughter rippled through the ballroom. Christine's maid of honor went next, tears streaming as she recalled their sorority days and Christine's journey to finding her perfect match. Then Richard Hartman III stood. The room quieted immediately. This was the toast everyone had been waiting for. Family, Richard began, his voice commanding, and friends. Tonight we celebrate not just a marriage but a union of shared values. Christine has chosen a partner who embodies everything the Hartman family admires: ambition, intelligence, dedication to excellence. Nathan was glowing. Christine dabbed at her eyes. In my 40 years building Hartman Pharmaceuticals, Richard continued, I've learned that success comes from recognizing talent. From surrounding yourself with the best and brightest. From making strategic decisions that position you for the future. He paused, looking around the ballroom. Which brings me to an announcement. 3 months ago, our board of directors made a historic decision. We appointed the youngest person ever to serve on Hartman Pharmaceuticals' board of directors. At just 28 years old, this individual has already revolutionized how we think about digital healthcare platforms. My stomach dropped. Oh, not here. Their AI diagnostic tool has been implemented in 14 countries. Their telemedicine platform serves over 2 million patients. And their strategic vision has positioned Hartman Pharmaceuticals at the forefront of the digital health revolution. Nathan's smile had frozen. Christine's hand had gone still on her champagne flute. "Ladies and gentlemen," Richard said, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on me, "I'd like to introduce you to our newest board director, Dr. Lily Chin." The silence was deafening. Dr. Lily Chin. My PhD in computer science and healthcare informatics from MIT. 3 years ago, I'd left that marketing job to launch MediConnect, a healthcare AI startup that Richard Hartman had personally invested in after seeing our technology in action. Last year, we'd been acquired by Hartman Pharmaceuticals for $240 million. I'd retained equity, an executive role, and apparently, though this was news to my family, a board seat. "Lily, would you stand, please?" Richard's voice carried across the ballroom. Stella's mouth was open. Marcus whispered, "Holy shit." I stood slowly. Every head turned toward staff table 3. "Lily's work has been transformative," Richard continued. "Her platform uses machine learning to detect diseases earlier, more accurately, and more affordably than traditional methods. She's saved lives. She's changed healthcare. And she's done it all before turning 30. Christine's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering against the table. Nathan had gone pale. When Christine told us about Nathan's sister, "I didn't make the connection immediately," Richard said, and there was steel in his voice now. "Lily keeps a low profile. Doesn't use social media. Doesn't seek publicity. Works from a modest office because she'd rather invest in research than appearances." He walked away from the head table, moving toward me with deliberate purpose. The crowd parted. But when I saw the seating chart yesterday and noticed Nathan's sister was placed at the staff table, Richard's expression hardened. I thought there must be some mistake. So I asked Christine about Lily's work. And she told me what was it exactly. Oh yes. That Lily was still figuring things out. My mother had her hand over her mouth. My father looked like he'd been struck. Richard reached staff table 3 and extended his hand. "Dr. Chin, on behalf of Hartman Pharmaceuticals, thank you for gracing us with your presence despite the seating arrangements." I shook his hand. "Mr. Hartman, congratulations on your daughter's wedding. Please join us at table 1. Eleanor has been asking about you. She read your article in the Journal of Medical AI last month. Found it fascinating." "I appreciate the offer," I said carefully, "but I wouldn't want to disrupt the seating plan." It was clearly very intentional. Richard's smile was sharp as glass. "I insist. Marcus, Stella, please join us as well. Any friends of Dr. Chen's are guests of honor at this wedding." The walk to table 1 felt surreal. Stella and Marcus followed, both looking stunned. Christine's face had crumbled into tears. Not the pretty, photogenic kind, but blotchy, mascara-running devastation. Nathan sat frozen, his moment of triumph dissolving into social catastrophe. At table 1, Eleanor Hartman, 83 years old and sharper than most people half her age, stood to embrace me. "Dr. Chin, Richard told us you'd be here, but I didn't realize you were family. What an absolute delight. You know each other?" Christine's voice was small. "Eleanor serves on the MIT board," I said. "We've met at several events." "Your dissertation was brilliant," Eleanor said, patting my hand. "Groundbreaking work. And I hear the commercial applications have been extraordinary." Richard was making introductions, explaining to the table why Dr. Lily Chin was actually the evening's most distinguished guest. Chip looked impressed. Patricia looked confused. My parents looked horrified. "Lily," my mother appeared at my elbow. "Sweetheart, why didn't you tell us?" I turned to face her. "Tell you what, Mom? About my company?" I tried. "You told me I was wasting my education." "About the acquisition?" "You hung up when I called because you were busy planning Nathan's engagement party." "About the board seat?" "You haven't returned my calls in 6 weeks." "But we didn't know." "You didn't ask." Kept my voice level. For 3 years, you've treated my work like an embarrassing hobby. You've introduced me as our daughter who's still finding herself. You seated me with the catering staff at my own brother's wedding. Nathan had found his voice. Lily, this is a misunderstanding. Christine didn't know. I told Christine exactly what I do, I interrupted. At your engagement party, she asked, and I explained about MediConnect, about the AI platform, about our expansion into international markets. She smiled and said, "That's nice," and then spent 20 minutes telling me about the imported linens for your reception tables. Christine's tears had become sobs. Patricia was trying to comfort her while shooting me venomous looks. The truth is, I continued, addressing the table but speaking loud enough for nearby guests to hear, you've all decided that success looks a certain way. Corner offices, corporate titles, the right clothes, the right clubs, the right appearance of wealth. I didn't fit that image, so you assumed I was failing. That's not fair, Nathan said weakly. Isn't it? I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app and showed him the screen. This is my checking account balance. That number right there. That's what's left after I bought Mom and Dad's house last year and paid off their mortgage. Anonymously. Through a trust. My father's face went white. And this, I swiped to another screen, is my investment portfolio. The Hartman pharmaceutical stock is performing particularly well, thanks to our recent product launches. Eleanor was watching with undisguised interest. Richard had a slight smile. But none of that matters, does it? I put my phone away. Because I didn't perform success the way you wanted. I didn't brag. I didn't post. I didn't make you look good at cocktail parties. So I got staff table 3 and creative type dismissals and 3 years of being treated like the family disappointment. The ballroom had gone quiet. The DJ had stopped the music. 200 guests were watching the drama unfold. Stella leaned over and whispered, "This is the best wedding I've ever worked." Nathan, I said, looking at my brother directly, I came tonight because you're my brother and I love you. But I'm done apologizing for your assumptions. I'm done shrinking myself to make you comfortable. And I'm done pretending that being ignored and dismissed is normal family behavior. I stood. Richard and Eleanor stood with me. Stella and Marcus followed suit. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, Richard said to my parents, you have a remarkable daughter. It's a shame you've spent 3 years not noticing. Dr. Chen, shall we adjourn to the terrace? I believe we have some Q4 strategy to discuss, and this venue has become rather uncomfortable. As we walked toward the exit, I heard Christine's wails intensify. Heard my mother calling my name. Heard the whispers spreading through the crowd like wildfire. On the terrace, Eleanor laughed. A delighted, wicked sound. Oh, that was magnificent. Did you see Patricia's face? Priceless. I feel bad for ruining their wedding, I admitted. Ruining? Richard raised an eyebrow. You gave everyone a story they'll tell for decades. Besides, they ruined it themselves the moment they put you at the staff table. My phone was exploding with texts. Nathan, my parents, several cousins I hadn't heard from in years. And one from my deputy at MediConnect. Whatever you're doing, the video is viral. Tech Twitter is losing their minds. Stock is up 6% after hours. Someone filmed it? I asked weakly. Marcus held up his camera sheepishly. Force of habit. I film everything at weddings. But hey, if it helps, you came across really well. Dignified. They came across less so. Eleanor was already on her phone. The Harvard Business Review wants a comment. Something about success without validation as a case study. Should I have my assistant connect them with your PR team? I don't have a PR team. Well, you'll need one now, dear. This is the kind of publicity money can't buy. She patted my arm. Come to dinner next week. Let's discuss your research roadmap. I think there's enormous potential for expansion into diagnostic imaging. Richard nodded. And we should talk about your role going forward. Board seat is just the beginning. With your vision and our infrastructure. He trailed off, already strategizing. Inside, through the French doors, I could see Nathan standing alone while Christine cried in her mother's arms. My parents were in urgent conversation with someone I didn't recognize. The wedding that should have been Nathan's triumph had become a cautionary tale about the cost of underestimating people. My phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. Dr. Chen, Richard said, his tone serious now. I know this is complicated. They're your family. But I want you to know, the Hartman family recognizes your value. Not just your professional contributions but you as a person. You're always welcome at our table. Thank you, I said, meaning it. Eleanor raised her glass. Someone had brought champagne to the terrace. To Dr. Lily Chin. May she never again be seated with the staff, and may her family finally pull their heads out of there. Mother, Richard interrupted, but he was grinning. To success on your own terms, Eleanor amended. And to making them regret every assumption. We drank to that. Later, much later, I would have difficult conversations with Nathan and my parents. There would be tears and apologies and long discussions about respect and recognition. Some relationships would heal. Others would remain fractured. But that night, standing on the terrace of Nathan's wedding venue, sipping champagne with a Fortune 500 CEO and MIT board member while my family's assumptions crumbled inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Free. Free from the weight of their expectations. Free from the need for their validation. Free from the cage of being underestimated. Marcus's video would hit 10 million views by morning. The headlines would read, Tech founder reveals board position after being seated at staff table. And when your family doesn't know you're worth $80 million. But the best part, the part that would sustain me through everything that followed, was simpler than that. It was watching Richard Hartman III, the man who'd spent 40 years building an empire on recognizing talent, look at my family with contempt and say, how could you not see what was right in front of you? Some questions don't have good answers. And some weddings become legendary for all the wrong reasons. This was both.